Hello and a very warm welcome to Cheetah TV. My name's Brian Badger from the Cheetah Conservation Fund. Now I want to share with you some of the projects, initiatives and conservation that's initiated and operated by the Cheetah Conservation Fund around the world. Now some of the projects you may be familiar with, some of them are high profile projects, some of them maybe not so much. So I'm going to start off with one of our most successful programs, and that is our Livestock Guarding Dog program. So I took the opportunity to speak to Callum O'Flaherty, who is the Livestock Guarding Dog and Small Stock Manager for the Cheetah Conservation Fund, who's based out in Namibia. I asked him to outline some of the initiative and some of the project, how it's initiated, how some of the successes and some of the challenges that face the Namibian farmers. So let's go out to Namibia and have a chat with Callum.
So the LSGD program started in 1994. So 26 years ago now, this program has been running. And in that time, we placed 653 dogs, which is an incredible number. And what we're doing is we're trying to mitigate human-wildlife conflict by placing these dogs on farms. And so what will happen is we'll raise the dogs here till 11 weeks of age. They'll go out to their farm where they'll bond with the livestock on that farm, and then they'll protect them. It is all instinctive. There's not really much training we have to do. And a lot of people think that these guys are herding dogs. These guys are purely guarding dogs. So what they might be doing, they may not even be with your herd out in the field. They're running perimeter checks and they're marking their territory. That smell of the dog in the area will be enough to ward off most predators, especially cheetahs, which are quite a timid cat. If something does come a bit closer, maybe a leopard or something, these dogs will guard and hold their ground. And that takes away the easiness of the meal for the predator. And these dogs work so well on the farms they go to, they can get to an 80 to 100% reduction in livestock losses.
So when you're saying about the dogs, I mean, what specific breeds of dogs do you use? Are you kind of fussy, for want of a better word, of the breed of dog?
So Laurie started with a breed called the Kangal Shepherd or the Anatolian Shepherd. And because we found that these dogs have worked so well, we have not nearly needed to change the breed at all. So up to today, we are still breeding Anatolians and Kangal Shepherds here at CCF. And they are doing an incredible job, as I said, getting that 80 to 100% reduction in livestock losses. These guys, they originated from Turkey, the high desert of Turkey, where these guys are used to guard livestock against bears and wolves. It's similar temperature and terrain that we have here in Namibia. So there is a short head and a long head version. We have obviously the short head version here in Namibia because it does get quite hot. And as an Englishman, I do find that temperature.
Yeah, tell me about it. So the breeds, as far as the husbandry, if you like, of the dog, are they relatively easy to keep for the farmers?
Yeah, the dogs are relatively easy to keep. They're very friendly breed with people. We try not to habituate them too much with people because obviously we are wanting them to be guarding dogs and not just wanting to stay with the owners or the herder out in the fields. They're relatively self-sustaining. Just need to provide them with some shelter and water, and they're usually quite good. And then obviously feed them. What we do is we feed them twice a day here, and it's quite an easy feed for them. Just normal dog kibble, dog biscuits, whatever you guys would feed your dogs at home and stuff. And that's what we get the farmers to do. Unfortunately, sometimes in the drought, we do have problems with farmers feeding the dogs, but we do a lot of training with farmers to make sure that they know how to look after these dogs before placing the dogs, so that we know that they are going to take good care of these guys.
Yeah, speaking of that, I mean, I understand that it's more of a program rather than just a service. So when the dogs, you said they go out 11 weeks, if I heard you correctly. So what's the process of the ongoing training, if you like?
Yeah, it is, as I said, a program. So we are always working with farmers because the dogs work so well that there's currently a 4-year waiting list for them. And so they are very well known here in Namibia. And so we do trainings with farmers that haven't got dogs yet to maybe look at them training with mongrel dogs until they get one of our Anatolians. But we'll also be going out to these farms once we place dogs at 3 months of age of the dog, 6 months, 12 months, and then yearly then after. So we just make sure that the dog is settling well, bonded with the livestock, checking that it's working well. We'll also at those times do the vaccinations and the deworming for the farmers as well. So they pay a $1,500 million fee for the dog. This is, if you're in the US, I think about $100 and the UK is just a bit, it's about £80. So these is quite cheap for a dog, but obviously we don't want to outprice these dogs for the farmers. We want to help mitigate the human-wildlife conflict. But we feel if the farmers are invested in the dogs, they've got money in the dogs, they're more likely to take better care of it. And as part of that incentive fee, that's why we go out to do the deworming and vaccinations for the farmer and help with any problems or training sides that the farmer or the herder might need. It also allows us to also check up with the dog because the welfare of these dogs is the most important thing to us here at CCF. And so it means we can check up with the dog. If the dog is being mistreated or malnourished, we do have the power to confiscate to them and bring them back to CCF. We want to make sure that all our dogs in this program are looked after to the best care. And at the moment, we have about 153 dogs out on farms.
So you say there's not much training that goes on as far as the puppies go. So what's the kind of the timeline, the process once the puppies are born?
With these dogs, as I said, they are incredible. So all this is instinctive. They've known it for generations through these bloodlines and stuff, and the breed of dog. But we do some things with them. So they go through little life stages, I should say, when they're here. So obviously they're born. At 3 weeks, we'll start putting them on some solid mashed food. So we'll mash it up on a tray for them. And we'll do something called a puppy call, which is just about hear me go. It's very embarrassing, but it's puppies, puppies. So that they do get to learn a bit of basic recall while they're here. Because obviously, when these guys are in the field, if they do chase after something that we don't want them chasing after, we want these dogs to be able to come back to their name or a call. So we do this basic puppy call when they start going on mash food. So we have a little bit of basic recall training with them. At 4 weeks, we'll introduce them to some goats so they get used to what they'll be living with in the future. So only 3 or 4 goats, depending on the size of the litter. These guys can have a litter size of 1 to 14. We do have one female that gave 12 2 years ago, which is crazy. So at 4 weeks, we'll introduce them to the goats. 7 weeks, we'll give them a puppy aptitude test. So we'll give them a test on how they react to different scenarios. So we'll put a fence between us and them to see if they're smart enough to work out if they could go around it to get it to us instead of go through it. We'll throw a ball to see if they'll look at their chase response, and then we'll score them on that. Luckily, no puppy has ever failed that, but it is a good way just to see how we engage how good a working dog they'll be in the future. And then at 8-9 weeks, we do look at spaying, neutering them. With our clinic team, we do a spay neutering program out in the field as well, which I'm sure you might hear about in another call, another talk. But we spay neuter them so that when they go out, these guys can't be bred. There's already problems across the globe with people breeding dogs unnecessarily. We want to make sure that these guys are not bred. Their main focus is on working, because if the dog is out there with another dog and they want to breed, they'll take their main focus away from the guarding. They'll just want to breed. So we want to make sure that these guys aren't, our main focus is on the guarding. We'll also obviously give them their first dewormings at 3, 5, and 7 weeks, and their first vaccinations at 6 and 9 weeks. And so it's all those little things that we need to do to make sure that they're ready to go out at their 11 weeks of age, ready to be great guarding dogs.
So when they go out at 11 weeks, they're not completely trained. I know they've got the natural instinct, but they wouldn't be out on their own with the herds or the herders at that point, no?
No. So what we ask is that they put the dog in with the herd straight away, and then they stay with the herd for about 2 weeks constant without going out. That's the sort of time frame it takes to form that bond. And then because they are still quite young, we ask them to just only do half days first of all, and slowly, gradually build up towards full days. Because obviously they are quite small, they are still growing. We don't want to overexert them so young. So they start off with not going out at all, just bonding with that herd. doing half days initially, and then working themselves up to full days by a year of age.
Okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense, because I didn't want people thinking that 11 weeks old, because that's obviously still quite small. So you're almost training the trainers. So you're training the farmers to carry on what you've been doing up to the 11-week period.
Yeah, that's basically what we're doing. We give them a document when we do hand over the dog to them, which has basically all the nutrition information, but also any how they should carry on what we're doing, basically, with how I said, with the half days, not lay them out in the first 2 weeks, and all those sort of things.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I think it's worth pointing out that because when I talk to people about the program, I sometimes have to reiterate that these are not sacrificial animals. This is not an animal that says, go after the dog, but leave my goat alone, type of thing. That's that. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, you're definitely right in saying that. These guys are there to protect your herd, not just to be the other meal, basically, for these guys. It is there to protect your herd. And most predators, unless they're really hungry, will not test these dogs. These dogs are big. I thought I was a big guy, but standing next to these dogs, I feel small. So these guys do a great job. And if the worst case scenario is if a leopard does come close, these dogs have been known to fight them, and both leopard and dog have walked away perfectly. These guys are not afraid.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing a predator wants to do is fight another predator, because it's going to end normally for one of the animals. Yeah, so that's when you're talking about livestock, typically what livestock are we talking about as far as Namibian farmers go?
So the main four livestock out here is bull goats and Damara sheep, and those are your main two small stock. And then there's a lot of cattle here as well. Our dogs at the moment are primarily with small stock, but we are doing a lot recently to try and get them trained up to work with cattle as well. So we're trying a lot of new things. And here at CCF on our model farm, where we have our livestock guarding dog program, we also raise dairy goats. And these guys have come in from South Africa, and we're showing farmers with these dairy goats that there's another form of income into their farm. So most people here in Namibia rely on the cattle for milk, but we here have our own on-site creamery where we use the dairy goats, and you can keep a lot more dairy goats for a lot cheaper here. So we usually promote those as well. But your main form of livestock is the bull goat and the Damara sheep.
So you're really looking at the holistic side of farming. I know that CCF is a very holistic organization, and it looks at every single aspect and addresses every kind of stakeholder within the ecosystem, basically. So is there much research and stuff that goes on as far as the actual farm?
So yeah, the main sort of research has been mainly in the dogs at the moment. As I said, I was here 3 years ago doing my master's on the dogs, mainly looking at their effectiveness, looking at the breed, how well the breed works, and all those sort of things. We are now setting up some more research, looking at the goat side and the goat management, looking at parasite control, because that could be quite a big problem out here, looking at vaccinations and all those sort of things. So we want to start now putting more effort into the research on the small stock side to really help small stock research out here in Namibia. But also we'll always take research on the dogs as well. And project we're doing at the moment is looking at sleep on dogs to see if they actually go into full REM when they're at night or otherwise, or if they're actually always alert and awake to see if there is predators around the corral, which is going to be quite an interesting study.
Yeah, so basically you're taking away all the guesswork. You're doing all the research and development, so it makes it easier and more effective for the farmers out on the front line, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing we're looking forward to doing is a lot of feed research for the small stock to see what you could get the most productivity from the dairy goats on which feed, and looking at which one has basically the healthiest herds with which best feed. Because we have our bush block plant here, which I'm sure you'll hear about in another talk, but we create bush feed here as well. And we're looking to see how effective that will be, feeding it with dairy pellets here to see if we can get more productivity out of our goats.
So just going back to the obviously tying in with the farmers. I mean, it's fairly open landscape farming, isn't it? It's not what some people would normally consider a farm, which is just a few acres with a fence around it. So what typically are the threats? When you're talking about human wildlife conflict, what typically are the threats directly to the farmer and his livelihood?
Yeah, so as you said, it's a lot different farming than what I'm used to in England and stuff. So we have the communal farms here, and we have the commercial farms. Commercial are more closely related to what you'd have out in the UK or the US, where it is eventually fenced. But the communal farm, that's basically open land, and farmers, even without herd, would usually just send their livestock out with or without a dog. And so what the threats are is we have wildlife all around us. Otjiwarongo, where we're based, is known as the cheetah capital of Namibia. And so we have cheetah passing through our farm every now and again, but we have a lot of leopard here. And so it's mainly the predators which are going to be the problems in these communal areas. Jackals are quite known for taking a lot of livestock, especially the small stock. And you have jackal numbers are very high here, as well as the hyena as well. But you also have the problem with theft as well. And there's a lot of people here in Namibia that are actually scared of dogs, especially big dogs like this out here. And so having these dogs with the herd also acts against theft as well. And a lot of people will sometimes use them for that. They won't be aggressive to the human, but if the human will see these dogs, they're usually quite scared of them.
Yeah, I could imagine. So. So you, as far as like the research and the bits and pieces, so I would imagine that you work in collaboration with other departments at CCF as well.
Yeah, no, we do a lot of things here. Well, I feel I do a lot of things here, helping other departments. It's one big family here at CCF. We all try and help each other. My main two, I have a background in a lot of. I used to work in zoos and wildlife parks, so I have that background with more exotic animals. But I did, as I said, fall in love with these dogs when I came out here, so that's the way I wanted to go. But I do help out with the cheetah team. But a lot of things I do is working with the ecology team. And so ecology team do a lot of camera trapping out here on CCF, looking at the predators around and the prey numbers and stuff. And so what I do is I go to one of our farms that we have around us, help with the camera trapping to see what sort of predators we have where we have our livestock. We have livestock from cows, goats, sheep, all over the CCF property. And so if I can know what sort of where the predators are, I can help out at those different areas.
Yeah, that's great because again the holistic side keeps on jumping up all the time, and it's not just a single problem or a single project. It is very cohesive, and it's great to hear about the interdepartmental thing. I know with some zoos and stuff, there's kind of little cliques sometimes, but it's great to hear the collaboration. So, is there any stuff going on that may be an alternative to the dogs, or should I say, that can work in collaboration with the dogs?
As I said, we do that livestock management training. That's a big part of working. If you can't get dogs, if you can get your livestock management down, that would be great. We then, if they can't obviously get one of our dogs, we talk about other breeds and how to train up other breeds to be these livestock guarding dogs. But we also look at other livestock guarding dog animals. Something that we've always wanted to try here as well is livestock guarding donkeys, because they have been known to work well out here, mainly in Kenya as well. Because donkeys can be quite aggressive, and if you raise them with your cattle, they work very well with cattle, and you have a guarding animal with them there. So we do try and think of other ideas to help along with this. The main thing is this training and education, because if we can train and educate farmers on how best to look after their livestock, that is what's going to be the thing that reduces their livestock losses. And I feel like we are getting there with educating people. We have lots of kids come through here that want to go and say they take these dogs back to their farms, tell all the things they've heard on these days. we had a group of teachers from Hababis, which is a place in the east here in Namibia. And there was 27 teachers, about 24 of them were scared of dogs. I brought our ambassador dog out, Kiri, and 19 of them left wanting an application for a dog, and 4 of them left wanting one of these guys as a pet once they've been retired. And so it is just educating and training people of these dogs, but then there is other ways to do it. If they are on our waiting list or if they can't afford a dog, we try and help them with these trainings, especially our Future Farmers for Africa training that we do as well, which is a big program that we run, inviting farmers here to come and learn how best to keep livestock and everything.
So you mentioned the internships that CCF offer. I mean, they're both international and local internships. Do they get involved with the dog program as well?
Yeah, no. So my assistant, Stella Mvula, she was an intern here 2 years ago. She was a local intern, and so she eventually became the assistant program manager here. Currently, at the moment, we have a sole livestock guarding dog intern who's actually from America. She got stuck here in lockdown. Like me, fell in love with the place. Didn't take any of the reparation flights back to the US. Just wanted to stay here and help with the dogs. So all the interns here will have general intern days where they can do all sorts of tasks, whether it be the dogs, the goats, cheetah husbandry, meat prep for the cheetah, all those sort of things. They'll get to experience everything. But we also, on our own sections, we also get to pick and choose interns to help solely on those sections. And that's why we have Sophie, who's our dog intern. And then on my goat side, I've got Mike, who's my assistant manager. And he, again, was a local Namibian intern here who really excelled and showed his passion for it. He is now obviously my assistant. And I also have a local Namibian called Elma here, who's also helping with the small stock side. So I have a mix of local and internationals here helping me with both the dogs and the goats. I think it's quite eye-opening for the internationals to see the different way of farming. And it's also good to have the local interns here so they can help take back to their families what we do here as well.
That's great to know, because I often get asked questions about internships and stuff like that. So it's great to know that they get pretty much an overview of the whole operation, which is incredibly valuable as far as education.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
they get the wide range of experience here and stuff. So Sophie will go off and do, and Elma will go off and do help with the Cheetah team and all those sort of things, just so they get the experience of other things. But they obviously mainly like to be here. Sophie did say as well that dogs and goats are the best section. I don't know why.
If people do like sponsor a livestock guarding dog, they're kind of buying in is the wrong word, but they're really investing in this proven program.
Yeah, look, as I said, we're getting that 80 to 100% reduction. So this is a very well proven program. Any donations would be incredible to help these guys. We have a guy out in the field called Gebhardt who does all our field visits and stuff. He's got to visit 153 farms at least this year. But obviously we do 3 months and 6 months, so he's got to go twice and stuff. We've always got dog food. We treat these guys because obviously they are breeding dogs, so we get very high quality dog food in for them. So everything, all the money is very well used in helping us support the dogs with their husbandry wise, whether it be blankets, food, bowls, medication, and also helping our guy out in the fields with fuel and all those sort of things, so we can constantly be checking on our dogs. COVID-19 played a massive part with our lockdown, not being able to move between the country, so we're playing a bit packed up now. So he's having to do a lot of kilometers or miles wherever you are at the moment. So he's very busy, but you would really be going towards helping this incredible program. As I said, I fell in love with this program 3 years ago, handed in my CV, didn't hear anything for 2 years, and then I got the call to say, do you want to come run the program? I handed in my notice of my job the next day, and I was out here within a month. So this program is incredible. If you guys ever do get to come and visit, I'd love to give you a tour of the place. The dogs are incredible. I can show you the dogs and the goats are the best section at CCF.
Well, Callum, I know you've got like 50 goat kids to look after and dogs to walk and feed and training to do. But I want to thank you for joining us and finding the time to to open our eyes to what's actually going on in Namibia in these weird times. So we wish you all the best of luck. We thank you for everything that you do, and hopefully we'll see you again very, very soon.
No, it's been great speaking to you. Great being able to tell you about the program and stuff. I hope to see some of you guys who may be watching this in the future to be able to give you tours, show you the dogs and goats. We really miss all the people, all our guests, all our tourists who come here, because you do become part of our CCF family when you visit. So we are missing you all. We hope to see you guys back again soon. But I hope you're all keeping safe wherever you are. And if I can end on something, as I am a bit biased about the dogs and goats, I do love the cheetahs here, but it is the dogs that are going to be keeping these guys out in the wilds. So it is dogs saving cats, which is very weird to say.
It is, but never a true word said. So thanks again. You take care, stay safe, and best regards to all the team in Namibia.
Thank you very much. Best regards to you as well.
Well, big thanks to Callum for sparing the time to explain some of the ins and outs of our livestock guardian dog program. If you want to learn more about that program and any of the other initiatives and projects that Cheetah Conservation Fund are undertaking, please visit our website at cheetah.org. If you like the video, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and set the little reminder if you want to be notified of our next and further videos explaining the fascinating world that is frontline holistic conservation. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you again next time.